Hi everyone, welcome to another video of the Storyist. Join me as we unravel how a creepy therapist changed a husband and wife's relationship. Lisa and Jacob have been together for 10 years. They were one of those college sweethearts in their university who ended up being married. They started as a happy and carefree couple who traveled to many places, celebrated their victory, and were each other's confidants. They were inseparable. Many of their friends envied their almost perfect relationship. Jacob is a freelance engineer, while Lisa works in a corporate office. They've been blessed with one child, Autumn, who is now 3 years old. Although both are working, they would usually spend their weekends taking a walk in the park, eating in restaurants, shopping in the mall, or just relaxing in their favorite cafe while reading books. Autumn is so lucky to have such intelligent and hardworking parents. However, everything changed when Lisa got promoted at her job. One morning, Lisa was called to the office of their department head. She thought her boss would ask her for one of those weekly reports, but she was shocked by the news he delivered. She had been promoted to a senior position. One of the senior managers resigned, and they needed a replacement. Their department head told her that after careful deliberation and after their meeting, no other candidate was better suited for the position aside from Lisa. The latter had been hardworking, punctual, and decided to do her job. Lisa was so happy that she accepted the role because she thought it would be good for her career. The additional compensation would be another excellent source for Autumn's future schooling. Lisa prepared their dinner that night. She cooked her husband's favorite steak and brought a bottle of fine wine. An hour later, Jacob arrived. He was confused about the table setup as there were candles and a complete set of plates and utensils on the table. His wife was nicely dressed with red lipstick on. She was smiling from ear to ear with their child in her arms. Jacob tried to think before he said a word. He was trying to remember what date it was, and if he did miss something. What's going on?" he asked smilingly.
Surprise! I got promoted!
Jacob was shocked and at the same time happy by what he heard. "Really? Congratulations! You should have told me so. I would have bought you something," he replied excitedly. That night was extra special for them because it marked another milestone for their family. Lisa and Jacob have always dreamt of something big. They have always envisioned themselves living in a large house, traveling with their child, staying in fancy hotels, and all of that was slowly coming to reality. Days passed by, and Lisa had been busy as ever. She usually spends 9 hours a week before, but now that she has been promoted, Lisa would usually go home when it's dark and Autumn's asleep. Lisa took her job so seriously that she had no time for herself. Even the weekends had been working days for her. She could barely cook, read for Autumn, and go out on weekends just like they used to. Another thing is that she was easily annoyed. She and Jacob would usually end up in a fight because they couldn't discuss some matters properly. They haven't been able to communicate well lately because of Lisa's schedule. Lisa thought Jacob was insecure because she was earning more, while Jacob thought Lisa's job changed her. He was happy about what happened to his wife's career, but sad that the same career was taking his wife away from him and their daughter. One day, while Jacob was still at work, he suddenly decided to go to a therapist. He couldn't keep the stress to himself anymore, so he searched online for a good and trusted clinic. Luckily, he found one just a 20-minute drive from where he works. He called the number on the website and scheduled an appointment. After his work hours, he immediately went to the said clinic. It was a 10-story building that different firms were leasing. Jacob pressed the 8th floor to that elevator and headed to the door number indicated from the address. He knocked on the door and heard a "Come in." An almost 40-year-old tall white guy opened the door. He was wearing glasses and he looked brilliant. The guy introduced himself as Dr. Miller and shook Jacob's hands. Jacob sat on the couch and was hesitant at first to tell him his problem. He wasn't sure if a black guy like him usually could go to clinics and ask for advice, especially on marital matters. However, the doctor seemed confident and trustworthy. He asked Jacob a few questions about his feelings and the main reason why he was at the clinic. Jacob began narrating. He said that he has a wife who happens to be a white woman with an established career. He told them that since his wife got promoted, everything had changed. Their once happy family turned dull, and he and Lisa were always fighting, which was not good for Autumn. Jacob described his wife as a pretty woman who was the smartest in her class. Back then, Jacob knew his wife was going to achieve something. He just didn't think that it was going to be bigger than what he had. Jacob truthfully admitted that he's a little insecure and worried. He said that his ego was hurt, knowing that he's black and his wife's earning more than him. He thought she was overpowering him, and he was also sad that Lisa did not have time for them anymore. The therapist seemed rather intrigued. Instead of asking Jacob how he is coping or how their current situation affects his mental health, he asked more questions about Lisa. Jacob thought it was expected. He trusted the doctor, so he continued narrating about his wife's job and where they usually spent their weekends before. Finally, after their 1-hour session had ended, the doctor advised Jacob to lower his pride and tried to ask his wife to go to their favorite park that coming weekend, which she did. That Saturday, Lisa and Jacob went to the park. They both knew that it would be an excellent time to discuss and settle things down. They sat on one of the benches while sipping their favorite coffee. The two had a good discourse about what to do with their current situation. Lisa had no plans of resigning or going back to her current position, but she promised Jacob to maximize all the time she had to bond with him in Autumn. She also vowed to be more sensitive and communicative. On the other hand, Jacob realized his mistakes too, and told Lisa he was going to be better at what he does and would help Lisa achieve their dreams together. It was already dark when the two decided to go home. They were already at the car parking lot when Jacob suddenly remembered that he had left his wallet in the cafeteria. He quickly returned and promised Lisa he'd be back after a couple of minutes. Lisa got her phone from her bag to call on their house and check on Autumn, when suddenly a man grabbed her hands and tried to kiss her. She was so stunned that she didn't know what to do. She struggled to escape from the man's grip and shouted for help. Jacob, a few meters away, hurried when he heard his wife's voice. "Let her go!" He ran faster, pulled the man's arms, and punched him as hard as possible. The man stumbled to the floor, and Jacob pulled his wife beside him. When Jacob saw the man who tried to harass his wife, he was appalled. It was the doctor whom he met yesterday. "You!" said Jacob. "What's your problem? How could you do this?" he asked. "You know him?" his wife, who was twice as shocked as him, asked. Jacob was about to explain, but was interrupted when the police entered the scene. The other bypassers who saw the incident quickly reported it to the police station nearby. Instead of heading home, they were required to go to the police station and submit the report. The police took photos of the doctor, ran the reports, and found out that this guy had been reported to them for sexual harassment before, but was released on bail. Jacob was so mad. They also learned that he was not a real doctor. He was a con artist who was trying to con people by pretending to be a professional and getting his clients' information. Lisa was quite frustrated. She didn't know her husband consulted the therapist and shared with him her information. Jacob apologized and promised not to do anything without his wife's consent. It was almost dawn when they got home, and they were both tired from what they had experienced today. They have learned that they shouldn't keep secrets and that they should have talked about the problem themselves before involving other people. They should have remained each other's confidants, just like they used to. They realized that a good marriage takes two people willing to listen and understand. That's all. Thank you for watching.